Today I gonna share about the short story from Mark Twain. The title is About Barbers. Mark Twain. Uh, About Barbers is featured in our study guide as a fine example in genre of realism. Okay, let's start with all things change except barbers. The ways of barbers and the surrounding of barbers. These never change. What what one expect what one experiences in a barber's shop the first time he enters one is what he always experiences in barber shop afterward till the end of his days. I got shaved this morning as usual. A man approached the door from Jones Street as I approached it from Main. I think that always happens. I hurry up, but it was of no use. He entered the door one little step ahead of me, and I followed in on his heels and saw him take the only vacant chair, the one presided over by the best barber. I always happen so. I sat down, hoping that I might fall heir to the chair belonging to the better of the remaining two barbers, uh, for he had already begun combine, combing his man's hair, while his comrade was not yet quite done lapping up and oiling his customer's lock. I watched the probabilities with strong interest. When I saw that number two was gaining on number one, my interest grew to solicitude. When number one stopped a moment to make change at the bath ticket for a newcomer and lost ground in the race, my solicitude rose to anxiety when number one caught up again, and both he and his comrade were pulling the towels away and brushing the powder from their customers' cheek, and it was about an even thing which one would say next. First, my very breath stood still the suspense, but when at the culminating moment number one stopped to pass a couple of times through his customer's eyebrows, I saw that he had lost he had lost the rest by a single instant, and I was indig- indignant and quitted the shop to keep from falling into the hands of number twos. Uh, for I have none of that enviable firmness that enables a man to look calmly into the eyes of a waiting barber and tell him he will wait for his fellow barber's chair. I stayed out 15 minutes and then went back, hoping for better luck. Of course, all of chairs were occupied now, and four men sat waiting, silent, unsociable, distracted, and looking bored, as men always do who are waiting their turn in a barber's shop. I sat down in one of the iron apart compartments of an old sofa and put in the time for a while reading and framed advertisements of all sorts of quick nostrils for dyeing and coloring the hair. Then I read the crazy names on the private Bayram bottles, read the name of noted, the numbers on the private shaving cups in the pigeonholes, studied the strange and damaged sheep prints on the wall, the bottles' early presidents, and voluptuous recumbent Southness, and the tiresome of everlasting young girl putting her grandfather's spectacles on, execrated in my heart and cheerful canary and disstringing parrot that few barbers shop are without. Finally, I searched out the least dilapidated of last year's illustrated paper that littered the full center table and connect their unjustifiable misrepresentations of all forgotten events. At last my turn came. A voice said next, and I shouted to number two. Of course, I always happen so. I said meekly that I was in a hurry, and it affected him as strongly as if he had never heard it. He shaved up my head and put a napkin under it. He plowed his fingers into my collar and fixed a towel there. He explored my hair with his claws and suggested that it needed trimming. I said I didn't want to trim it. He explored again and said it was pretty long for a prison style. Better have a little taken off. It needed it behind especially. I said I had had it cut only a week before. He yarned over it effectively a moment, and then asked with the disparaging manner who cut it. I came back at him promptly with you did. I had him there. Then he fell to stirring up his leather and regarding himself through the glass, stopping now and then to get close and examine his chin critically or inspect a pumple. Then he lathered on side of my face truly, and was about the leather that order when a dog fight attracted his attraction, and he ran to the window and stared and saw it out, losing to shilling on the result in beds with the other barbers, a thing which gave me great satisfaction. He finished rattling, and then began to rub in the suits with his hand. Now he began to sharpen his razor on an old suspended and was delayed a good deal on account of a controversy about a sheep masquerade ball and had figured at the night before in red cambric and bogus ermine as some kind of a king. He was so gratified with being shifted about some damsel whom she had smitten with his charms that he used every means to continue the controversy by pretending to be annoyed at the chaffing of his fellows. This matter begot more surveying of himself in the glass, and he put down his razors, blushed his hair with elaborate care, plastering an inverted arch of it down on his forehead, accomplishing an accurate part behind, and brushing the two wings before forward over his ears with nice exactness. In that time, in the meantime, the leather was drying on my face and apparently eating into my vitals. Now he began to shave, digging his fingers into my countenance to stretch the skin and bundling the tumbling my head this way and that as convenience in shaving demanded. As long as he was on the thought side of my face, I didn't suffer, but when he began to rake and rip and tug at my chin, the tears come. He now made a handle of my nose to assist him shaving two corners of my upper lip. I was by this bit of circumstantial evidence that I discovered that a part of his duties in the shop was to clean the kerosene lamps. I had often wondered in the indolent way whether the barbers did that, or whether it was the boss. About this time, I was amusing myself trying to guess where he would be most likely to cut me this time. But he got ahead of me. He slided me on the end of chin before I had got my mind made up. He immediately sharpened his razor. He might have done it before. I don't like a close shave and would not let him go over me second time. I tried to get him to put up his razor, dreading that he would make for the side of my chin, my pet tender spot, a place which a razor cannot touch twice without making trouble. But he said he only wanted to just smooth off little roughness, and in the same moment he slipped his razors along the forbidden ground, and the dreaded pumple sides of a close shave rose up, smarting and answering to the call. Now he socked his towel in bay, rum, and slapped it over my face nastily. Slapped it over as if a human being ever yet washed his face in this way. Then he dried it by slapping with the dry part of the towel as if a human being ever tried his fate in such a fashion. But the barber seldom rubs you like a Christian. Next, he poked the ruin into the cut place with his towel. The socket that wound with powdered starch, then socked it in the way ramekin, and would have gone on soaking and powdering it forevermore, no doubt, if I had not rebelled and begged off. He powdered my whole face now, straightened me up, and began to blow my hair thoughtfully with his hands. Then he suggested a shampoo and said my hair needed it badly, very badly. I observed that I shampooed it myself every truly in the past yesterday. I had him again. He next recommended some of Smith's hair glorifier glorifier and offered to sell me a bottle. I declined. He prizes the new perfume, John's Delight of the Toilet, and proposed to sell me some of that. I declined again. He tendered me a Turkish watch atrocity of his own invention, and when I declined, offered to take knife with me. He returned to business after the miscarriage of this large enterprise, sprinkled me over sprinkled me all over, legs and all, greased my hair in defiance of my protest against it, rubbed, rubbed and scrubbed a good deal of it out by the roots, and combed and brushed the rust rest, parting it behind and plastering the eternal inward arch of his down on my forehead, and then, while combining my skinned eyebrows and defilling them, I pomade pomade, strung out an account of the achievements of a 6-ounce black and tan terrier of his till I heard the whist- whistles blow for noon, and know I was 5 minutes too late for the train. Then he snatched away the towel, brushed it lightly about my face, passes his comb through my eyeballs once more, and Gale sang out next. This barber fell down and died of apoplexy. 2 hours later, I'm waiting over a days for my revenge. I'm going to attend his funeral. This is story of the barber, Robert Barber, described by Mark Twain. Thank you so much.